I'm only little.
Hello, I'm Mr. Small. I really am very little.
How little?
Well, about as big as your little finger.
That's without my hat on, of course.
I live in a tiny house under a daisy at the bottom of Mr. Robinson's garden. I quite often walk up to see Mr. Robinson. He's a good friend.
It takes nearly all day to go there and back, because with short legs you can only take short steps.
I went to see him last Wednesday after breakfast. 1 cornflake, 1 drop of milk, 5 grains of sugar, and a crumb, with a dab of butter and a spot of marmalade. That's quite a big breakfast for me. As I walked up the garden path, I met a worm.
"Hello," I said, raising my hat. "Isn't it cold today?"
"Isn't not cold today," sniffed the worm. Worms are like that. When I arrived at Mr. Robinson's, I was quite exhausted and very cold. I used to knock at his door, but that never used to work. You see, my loudest knock is still a very quiet knock, and Mr. Robinson never used to hear it. So he tied a piece of cotton to his letterbox, and now, when I pull the cotton, the letterbox rattles, and Mr. Robinson can hear that. I reached up and pulled the piece of cotton. Oh, dear. I pulled so hard it snapped. What was I to do? Then I heard footsteps. I jumped hastily out of the way. When you're as little as I am, you can't be too careful. It was the postman. I thought I'd seen him somewhere before. "Excuse me," I piped. "Could you press the doorbell for me, please?"
"Hello there, Mr. Small,"
grinned the postman as he pressed the bell. Mr. Robinson came to the door.
"Letter for you,"
said the postman.
"And," he added, "a friend to see you."
"A friend?" asked Mr. Robinson, looking around.
"Where?"
"Here," I shouted. "You try shouting here in your littlest whisper. Go on, try it." "That's about as loud as my shout." But Mr. Robinson heard it. "Hello, Mr. Small," smiled Mr. Robinson. "Hello," I yelled. The postman gave Mr. Robinson the letter and went off. Mr. Robinson picked me up carefully and took me into the kitchen. "Coffee?" he suggested. "Lovely," I replied. And he poured 1 drop of coffee into a very, very tiny cup. His daughter had found it in a doll's house and had given it to him. "For me?" "Pull up a chair," he said, and I sat down on top of the kitchen table in my chair. Mr. Robertson had made it specially for me out of 5½ matchsticks. "Who's the letter from?" I asked. "We won't know until we open it, will we?" Mr. Robinson chuckled. Mr. Robinson opened the envelope and read the letter. And then he read it again. "Gosh," he said, "I've been invited to go to a university in California for a whole year. Mr. Robinson is a professor." My heart sank. "Congratulations," I said. "You don't look very happy about it," remarked Mr. Robinson. "Well," I said, "I'll miss you." He said, stroking his chin. He thought for a moment. "How would you like to come with me?" he said. "Me?" I said. "Yes," he said. "You." I was so excited. I got back to the bottom of Mr. Robinson's garden in record time. "I'm off to California," I shouted to the worm as I ran past him. "When?" he sniffed. "In the morning," I cried. I spent most of the rest of the day packing. Getting to sleep in my little bed that night was very difficult. But the morning dawned and off we set, me and Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson and I, both of us. And so here I am, 1 week later, in sunny California, on a Wednesday afternoon, sitting by my swimming pool, writing my book. Gosh, the sun is hot, much hotter than at home. Actually, I think I should explain about the swimming pool. The university have lent Mr. Robinson a house, and the house has a pool. But I don't dare go in it. It's 100 times deeper than little old me, and that's at the shallow end. So Mr. Robinson came up with a very good idea. He went to the supermarket and came home with a brand new dog bowl. It makes a very good swimming pool, and you need a pool when it's as hot as this. Ah, this is the life. Sitting in the sun, writing my book. Sitting in the sun, taking a dip, and sitting in the sun. Actually, I think I'll go and finish my book inside now. Gosh, I've just looked in the mirror. Oh, dear. I think I've spent too much time sitting in the sun. I've gone all red.
Small, Mr. Small, he's as big as a pin, but isn't very tall now, Mr. Small. Mr. Small, he's so tiny that there's nothing of him at all. Small, Mr. Small, he's as big as a pin, which isn't very tall now, Mr. Small. Mr. Small, he's so tiny that there's nothing of him at all. Putting the marshes into mash boxes, serving the sweets in a shop. Into mustard cups, can't find a job that will do. Mr. Small, Mr. Small, he's as big as a pin, which isn't very tall now, Mr. Small. Mr. Small, he's so tiny that there's nothing of him at all. Mr. Small, he's as big as a pin, which isn't very tall now, Mr. Small. Mr. Small, he's so tiny that there's nothing of him at all. Mr. Small, Mr. Small, he's as big as a pin, which isn't very tall now, Mr. Small. Mr. Small, he's so tiny that there's nothing of him at all. Mr. Small, Mr. Small.